On the day of the miscarriage surgery review, Dawson used the excuse of work to not accompany me. However, when I came out of the hospital with the lifelong infertility test report, I unexpectedly ran into Dawson. He held his number 1 Omega, his childhood sweetheart, Ruby Maxwayne. I turned my head forward, no longer paying attention at Dawson and Ruby's arrival. Soon as I closed down the front door, I opened Tattle out of whim. There, I saw read Maxine's, Ruby's account. Post, got my knight in shining armor. He was a simple and cold man, but he dragged me all the way to the hospital. This guy is so sweet, people will misunderstand. Since I was a mutual with her on several social media, I saw her account uploading a photo with the same exact captions. In the photo, they're captured a shoulder part with navy blue jersey with light gray circle around its short sleeves end. And that shirt was the one Dawson wore earlier. It was a gift for his last 24th birthday. Many people sent me messages, wanting to see me fight back and defeat them. I smiled and said, no need, congratulations to the scumbag and the bitch, they are a perfect match. It's time for me to give up this loveless marriage. I lost my first child, because someone collided with me, on my way home from work. Someone wearing a thief mask was dashing towards me, with a really high speed. I remembered seeing his arm already transformed into that of a wolf. He pushed me aside with force. The next thing I could remember was the excruciating pain, and I woke up out on a hospital bed while Dr. Pearson was talking to a nurse next to my bed. My husband, Dawson, only came the next day in the evening. Even then he was busy, smiling at his smartphone for goddess knows how long. On the day, Dawson abruptly stood up from his chair, his eyes glued to the smartphone in his hand. Something came up. I have to go. Dr. Pearson blinked at him incredulously. Are you sure, Mr. White? Mrs. White's examination, but by then, Dawson had walked through the ward door. The door eventually clicked shut behind him. Is almost finished? Dr. Pearson trailed off. She exchanged glances with me afterward. But before she could say anything, I said with a smile, it's all right, doctor. My husband is busy like that. Today was my second physical examination since I lost my child. Dawson used the excuse of work to not accompany me. He said he would pick me up after I finished the doctor's examination. I was so glad Dr. Pearson didn't press on the topic that day. She wasn't even showing weird gestures or giving me judgmental look when I came alone for another checkup today. Customer number 102, please go to the pharmacy counter. The loudspeaker rang calling my number. I gathered my purse and jacket before going to take my medicine. As the nurse wrapped up her concise rundown of the medicine, my mind wandered briefly to the next task at hand. With a quick nod of gratitude, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Yet, when I turned on the screen, I saw a notification from Dawson. Sadie, you can go home on your own, can't you? Something came up and I really need to take care of it. Oh. Well, it seemed I had to go home on my own again today. Sure. I shrugged and put my phone bag into my jacket. Was I disappointed? Yeah, probably, I guess. In the past, I would have been sad, and would beg him to pick me up. Dawson, could you please make time? I need you to be here. I'd probably send him such replies. It had always been like this for the longest time I was ever married to him. To be very honest, I had forgot the exact details. Around 6 months or so, after Dawson and I got married, he'd start to have sudden departures, never telling me the exact reason, why he did so. He'd always get mad when I asked. Always grown frustrated and went straight to bed the moment he came home. Always walking towards the small fountain at our front yard, when talking phones from clients, he said. At first, it hurt, a sharp sting of abandonment. But over time, I guess the pain was even more bearable. I wish I had grown numb to it. Unfortunately, but reality wasn't always cooperative. The sky had turned darker the moment I stepped out of the hospital door. I rubbed my hands together as the autumn chill had blown, and the heater of the hospital lobby didn't reach past the automatic door. I scanned the perimeter and saw a bunch of blue sedans parking side by side at the corner, in the special parking lot for cabs. I raised my hand and waved, hailing for one. Soon, a blue sedan stopped before me, and I opened the door and settled into the backseat. Glory Wayne Estate Complex on Nightingale Street, please, I told the cab driver. The driver nodded and started operating the small device on his dashboard. The moment I clicked on my seatbelt, I looked outside the window. A familiar sight caught my eyes. It was Dawson's silver OD parking just in front of my cab. I blinked, shifting on my seat to check out the license plate. And indeed, it was his car. Why was he here? Didn't he text me that he could not pick me up? But the nature soon gave me reply in the most cheeky way. As the cab started to drive away, I saw Dawson get outside and towards the front passenger seat, opening its door. The next moment, a woman got out of his car. That person was his number one Omega, Dawson's childhood sweetheart, Ruby Maxwayne. A faint blue in my heart caused me to shift on my seat. I turned my head forward, no longer paying attention at Dawson and Ruby's arrival.